What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched Chainsaw Man Episode 3, and quick recap. This is a pretty straightforward episode. We get a little bit of backstory on Power and a little bit of insight into her liking of cats, and that she had a cat named Meowie, which is interesting, but we'll get further into that. And we explore Denji and Power's relationship as they do not get along, and Makima essentially proposes that they try to work together, and yeah. So while they are trying to get along, they start discussing Power's cat, Meowie, who was taken by a devil, and she wants to get it back. Denji brings up that he had Pochita for a while, and she's not able to connect with that at first. But they come up with a deal that Denji will help get Meowie back from this devil if he's able to fondle Power. We'll just put it that way, because he expressed his ambitions to do that, which has been a constant in the show so far, which is pretty funny. Yeah, so they set off to do that. They talk a little bit more about some slight morality stuff. They kind of talk about a couple things where Power just kind of says she doesn't understand humans and how they think, how they say people are with them still when they're gone, and doesn't get human sense of humor either. In reference to when Denji talks about how he can turn into a chainsaw. Outside of this situation, Makima is talking with, I assume, the government. That was the government, right?
The people, at least in charge of that division she works for. I can't remember what it's called right now.
And they kind of just ask her about what's going on with her pups, essentially, referring to Power and Denji. And she says that one shows promise, the other one is interesting. And that they kind of, remind her to not get attached to these. They are essentially hunting dogs for her, as they say. And then she has a interesting discussion in the car. Well, it's not really a discussion. It's a quick tidbit on, why she finds Denji interesting. And it makes a lot of sense. So, Denji and Power end up going to this house. I think it's really funny that Denji's just kind of like riding the train or whatever with the axe, and just walking around with an axe. It's just funny looking. They go there. They're talking about the situation. He reminds her of what they're there to do, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, that." And really interestingly enough, his instincts tell him that she's going to do something, but he's not quite fast enough. She's able to hit him over the head with a blood hammer, it seems. Knocks him out, drags him into a house very creepily, and we end up finding out that the devil that she was talking about does in fact have Meowie, her cat, but she's planning on trading Denji and his blood for the cat because she doesn't really value him because he's a human, so she betrays Denji in that sense, so the devil tries to he tries out Denji a little bit with the blood, doesn't like his blood, throws him. I forgot what leads to the cat. He pulls the cat out.
He's getting ready to go try to get some tasty humans.
Yeah.
And she reminds him of their deal.
Yeah. So he pulls like a fucking cage out with the cat in it, which is ridiculous. We get some backstory a little bit too, with Power originally finding the cat while she was out just killing shit. We see two different scenes where she's just hanging out with the dead stuff that she's killed. She says she's going to feed the cat, let it grow so she could eat it later, but we are led to assume that she becomes attached to it because once the cat is taken from her, she's not too happy about that. So yeah, this devil eats the cat. And then she kind of relays to Denji that she understands now what he meant about not being able to pet Pochita anymore. And then she gets eaten by the devil. The devil. And so, the devil's like, I'm going to go eat like pregnant people, kids, grown men, all sorts of shit. He's about to go crazy, go ham on the town, takes off, and Denji hitches a ride with him, and inevitably goes into chainsaw mode, and they have a wild fight that we'll probably talk about more in depth throughout the city, in which Denji inevitably cuts this dude up into pieces. And that's where we're left with the episode. Denji has been betrayed by power, and then dispatched the devil. What do we think of this episode?
That was a very good episode. I do like the little bit of backstory. I also like how, even though they were butting heads, there's a moment right before Power gets eaten where he kind of like understands where she's coming from all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, a lot of the episode was just kind of like, how do I word this? I mean, it's mostly just about her and then them trying to get along. But the big standout for me was there was a lot of different scenes in this episode, and the art was just so good.
Really good, yeah.
So good. And so many like really cool angles. It wasn't just like your typical like front and side profiles of faces. They'd be like, all these really interesting angles and really detailed drawings of their faces.
There's some really cinematic shots. There's some really like up close shots of eyes or whatever during conversations, and some really cool angles. A lot of animation that didn't need to be done but was done, so I appreciated it
a ton.
I mean, even when they were in the car, I kind of noticed in the background that you could still see the traffic driving around outside of the car. Like, that didn't need to be there.
Well, and the coffee in her cup was vibrating too, which was like complete. Like, they could have made it just slosh, and it actually looked like it was like vibrating.
There's even a scene where Denji and Power were like fighting in front of Makima, but the shots like of her ass almost just sitting on the bench. But I was noticing that her small movements were adjusting the way her clothes were fitting on her. And I was like, you guys animated that?
Yeah, they went ham.
Like, you didn't even need to. It's crazy.
The quality's just been consistent, too, which is crazy. This season, I've been watching 2 shows now where I'm just kind of, like, blown away at the level of what anime has become.
Well, that's what I've been thinking, because, like, we watched Demon Slayer, and, I mean, that just gets better and better and better the newer it gets, but... watching that, I was like, oh, this is like modern day anime. Like, this is like really high budget shit for sure. And it still 100% is. But now I'm watching this and I'm like, this is what anime can do too. Like, this is like, if you've been watching anime since like the 90s up until now, it's like, this is where we're at.
Yeah, it's
where you can get crazy. Like this detailed, this cinematic, this well animated. It's impressive. Yeah. And even the stuff you showed me with Bleach was like really impressive. So it's like, yeah, if you got a studio that's willing to put the time in and has the budget to do so, we're getting some like very movie-esque animation and shows.
Well, it makes me wonder what movies look like right now, because I don't watch a lot of anime movies, so I'm probably missing out on some pretty sweet eye candy. Because if the series are looking like this, that means the movies probably look insane.
Well, yes, my frame of reference when I'm looking at the stuff is like, this looks like anime movies to me.
Yeah.
Except for it's a show. So yeah, I'd like to see where the movies are at now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They had some fun with sound design. I know Mappa does it anyways with Attack on Titan, I've heard. I have never watched Attack on Titan, so I'm not 100% sure with that. But we got a little taste of it here with some interesting sound design, especially during combat, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite things, even like when watching Fire Force is another example where they just kind of go and make interesting sound effects for combat, which I really like, especially if you're wearing headphones. It's just a treat.
Well, yeah, the music's been really good. The sound design's been really good. They do a lot of glitchy stuff, which is really cool. I think it adds a lot to the gritty visuals of the show. They definitely have a style locked in, and I think they're really nailing it. Yeah, it's just really working. It's really interesting, too, though, during the fight towards the end, which was awesome. There's an absence of sound sometimes, too, which I thought was really interesting. Because it's not like they didn't have anything to put in that scene. They chose to do that because before that they have all these like weird glitchy sounds happening just like ambiently. So it's like it was a thing they chose to do, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think a good example of that too is when he's getting up after he's been thrown or whatever, or not thrown, he got screamed at or whatever,
Yeah, that
thrown
was
through
wild.
a wall, which chunked very nicely. You kind of like it gets a little quiet, and you just hear him rev the chainsaw again right before he walks back out of or before the smoke clears or whatever. It was just a nice what word do I want? It's just the whole scene is really well done. It's not the word I want. I can't find it right now, but it really added feel to that moment, which was really cool. Yeah, and then the fight was pretty cool. It's still not like a fair fight where Denji's really having to try that hard. So I am looking forward to more like crazy fights, especially like
I am
where they get
really
to do
curious
group
to
combat
see
and stuff.
what that's going to be like.
Yeah, because right now we're still getting teased with a bunch of like, basically this is here to give you an action scene, but we're still trying to like develop characters and
Well,
stuff.
it's early enough now that like Denji's still kind of getting like thrown around stuff like that, and you'll want him to win. So
Yeah.
like when he does something badass and just rips through somebody, like you're getting what you want. But yeah, I'm really curious to see if he is just with chainsaws ripping up this giant devil dude, and like not even just like with the chainsaws, but like physically he's able to like punch him and launch him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he threw the car in the dude's face.
Yeah.
That was crazy. looking.
I just want to see, once they bring somebody who can fight him, and yeah, when they can do group stuff, because so far it's been wild, and it's just been him like ripping, tearing people.
Well, and with the way that they're animating stuff, right? We got like a small taste last episode of Power. The way her like stuff forms. It happened really instantly in this episode, so it was really kind of hard to see. But like when she was just falling and making that huge hammer or whatever, it was really cool looking. But it was a split second.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to like a more extravagant fight. And then with the way they've been doing animation, they got like, let's say her fighting and Denji fighting at the same time. It's just going to be a lot to animate, obviously. And if they nail it, it's going to be, and I'm sure they will. It's just going to be great to watch. So
Definitely.
yeah, overall, it was a good episode. It's hard to get too deep in it because it was a pretty cut and dry episode, but I am constantly in awe at the detail when I'm watching it, though. So
Yeah, I'm hoping this momentum carries forward and just gets better, because so far I'm like really loving this show. It's probably one of the best animes I've seen in a while, and it's only 3 episodes, but I just really like everything about it so far. The characters are awesome, the environment, the scenes, everything with it's awesome. The combat's dope, the animation's great,
the voices are perfect for
the
all
voices
the characters.
are good, like everything's really good. So yeah, hopefully it carries on, and at the very least just stays as good, if not better. And I assume it will just get better, but yeah. Very high quality stuff. Yeah, I really like this episode too. Straightforward. It's a scenario playing out that is an excuse to explain more about Power, which is something we need because she was just introduced in the last episode very quickly. We know that she's kind of crazy and chaotic, and wants to murder things. We also see in this episode that she is very capable of just lying. To get what she wants. She accuses Denji of ordering her to do what she did in the last episode, even though he obviously didn't. And she just maintains that lie, and then she lies to him about, not really fully lies, but lies about
Twists
the
the
plan on how to get the cat back, and is willing to sacrifice him. So they definitely have a shaky relationship that I assume will, they'll probably become buddies, but it's just kind of showing where they're starting, and it's not good. So it's a really interesting thing to see. But yeah, giving a little bit of backstory on Power. We don't have a whole lot of info on where she came from. We just know that she was doing blood devil shit all over the place, and eventually was snatched up by Makima somewhere after Meowie got stolen. So definitely interested in hearing more about that. But her earlier version of herself was kind of interesting, seeing in the flashbacks that she's just like naked and her hair is all fucked up and she's dirty. Definitely makes her look more like a devil in that sense.
Yeah, she's very feral.
Exactly. And yeah, and cutting heads off cows and stuff. It's like really, really crazy stuff. But it is interesting that she is so detached from humans and caring about things, but then shows that there is, dare I say, some humanity in this blood devil when she realizes, she thought she didn't care about things, and then when something was taken from her, she cared about it. And so there's a charm to that I think is necessary. You can't just have a character who's just like a piece of shit. There has to be something likable about them, even though she is likable. Yeah, so that's been really interesting. I love how blunt the show is in general, but Denji is, and how Power also, because she's not human, doesn't have like human morals. So like when Denji's talking about like, bluntly like, oh, I just want to fondle a chick at some point, and she's just like, okay, like help me find the cat, and you can just fondle me then. He's like, okay. That scene where he's just like instantly like, what? And then he's like, these devils. He's like, we gotta fucking get that cat back. And the whole time she's just like, oh, like she's just like super into it. Really funny, but I think the banter is interesting because Denji's just like this dude who's might as well have been raised by wolves.
Pretty much.
He hasn't been around people, so he's just like very blunt about what he wants, and that she's not human. She also can kind of speak on that level, which is really interesting. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, the Makima stuff, I'd like to know more about her. We got a little bit of what's going on. It feels like it's being implied that she has interest in these two, but when they're reminding her that she needs to not get attached to them, makes me assume that she has an interest in them further than just like, oh, these are my dogs. But it's a little early for that to really develop. But that's an interesting one. I forgot. Oh, Aki. That's that guy's name.
Yeah.
He's barely in this episode, but he talks in the car with her, and he's also very blunt about how much he just doesn't like Denji and thinks he's just kind of a waste of time. So that'll be another blossoming relationship, I'm sure, later.
You know what else was kind of a neat scene when they're arguing in the beginning and she tells them to stop. You notice like Power just like instantly listens almost and like looks down as if she's kind of freaked out by
So either Makima's like really powerful or she's got leverage on her in some way.
Yeah, I assume she's powerful.
I assume she's powerful too, but like they could have some kind of like weird deal too where she has leverage.
Yeah.
She has full control of the situation. I don't know because we don't know how they got locked in fully yet. But I'm sure we'll know all about it soon.
Yeah, it's just really interesting because even Denji, like for a moment, he's like, "Wait, what? Like, why'd you just stop arguing all of a sudden?"
Exactly. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to explore. The whole build up to getting to the house and then finding out that she's betraying him. Like, I wasn't really thinking that until they started walking and she seemed like she wasn't very interested in what they were talking about originally. I was like, wait, she's going to fucking do something. And then, yeah, the show just kind of plays that out. I thought that was fun the way they did it because, like, he's just like asking questions and he's like pretty quick on it, honestly. Like, he's just like, weren't we here doing what you're talking about? She's like, yeah, that's what I said. And he's just like, what the fuck?
He did have to deal with Yakuza.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like, and he's not like he's not a Tanjiro character where he's like, oh, everybody's good. I just want people to be like, he's just like, what the fuck? And he's like, goes to do something. She's just, a little quicker because this has been planned for her. So that was a cool scene. The devil was fucking gross. He's like a giant bat dude. Quite literally, just like a giant buff bat. They really like to play around with how these devils just like, I eat people. Like, they're just food. Like, Denji's trying to talk to him. He's like, food doesn't need to talk. And when he's squeezing him,
he just brings him out.
And just getting blood from him, I was like, that's pretty gnarly. They're definitely not afraid of just letting Denji just bleed everywhere. But but that just made it so much better when he chopped him up later. Surprised to see him eat the cat and Power, but because he ate Power, I have to assume they'll be fine. But we will find out, especially because, it's pretty fresh and he got chopped up into pieces. So I'm sure those come right back out.
Yeah, Denji chopped his stomach open. So.
We chopped him everything. Yeah, I'm sure it'd be pretty easy to get him out. And then, the fight was really fucking cool. I liked it a lot. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, he gets the chainsaws out.
Kind of hard to call it a fight, to be honest.
Yeah. He flung him around a couple times.
He did, but it was pretty one-sided, I feel.
It was a little revealing a couple ways, too, because it shows that Denji has, like, super strength as well with his devil powers. It's not just the chainsaws. As they've shown a couple times, he punches the dude and he launches him. The dude throws a car at him. He catches the car. The devil's like, whoa, you're actually, like, really strong. And he's talking about saving the dude. He's like, I don't care about this guy. And he's like, throws the car back at him, hits him in the face, and explodes, which was so satisfying.
The fire effect was crazy looking, too.
Yeah. Well, even the impact looked really good, but then just exploded, and then he was on fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the fight was great. I'm not going to go like frame by frame, just watch it. But like the finale was really good too, where he's just like cutting up through his arm and then like sawing through his face and cutting him up. Definitely one of those scenes is from the trailer that was like really fucking cool. The music was great, and they're definitely trying to make Denji as badass as possible in a lot of these scenes, because it's just like stylistically like very badass looking, and I fucking love it. And yeah, the episode just ended, which sucks, because after you see that, it's not satisfying to just be like, I guess I gotta wait a week. But
twice this week for me.
Yeah. But I'm a busy dude, so I can appreciate having that time to wait for another episode. But yeah, after that, I was just ready for more. So that kind of sucked, but oh well. But yeah, overall, really good episode. A lot of fun. Very simple, straight to the point. We got some action, which is great. We got some, character building, which is great. And definitely curious to see what comes next week. And curious to see the how Power and Meowie are doing after being eaten, because that was interesting. I also like to see Aki do something. I feel like he can do something outside of getting his balls kicked in, because he has that sword. So
that's still being memed to hell on TikTok. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
That was a great scene. It's just ridiculous. So yeah. Anything else?
No, not really. The cliffhangers are killing me this week, so I'm ready for next week already. But
Wait, was the other one you're talking about, Bleach?
yeah, they ended at a pretty crazy moment where some dude got blown in half. So
Everything's so violent and explosive.
I was having this probably not the best time to be bringing it up, but I was having a conversation with a coworker, and I was like, it's kind of crazy that all these animes are like really kind of getting hyper violent again. And I don't mind. I kind of missed it anyways. Things were feeling a little sterile, but there's a lot of them lately. I'm here for it, but it's been interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anime has been getting popular forever, slowly anyway, but with the stagnation of like Western movies, TV, all of our stuff being so whatever, formulaic and boring and safe, anime's definitely, taken on a lot of new fans, but also like bringing in that kind of like hyper violence and gore. We're not seeing a whole lot of that and stuff here. So yeah, it's definitely, it's a market that's not being met here. So it makes sense. I was really surprised to see Bleach being violent. Like,
yeah, all three episodes.
Obviously, they're all
too,
it's all violence, but like blood and gore.
Yeah, they were super mellow in the original series.
Yeah,
and now in this series, there's just fucking puddles of blood all over the place all the time. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is. I know it's the same show, but it almost doesn't feel like it. So.
Yeah, it's not what I think of when I think of Bleach, but I mean, they did it confidently, like they've always done it.
Yeah, well, and I guess it's how it is in the manga. So the show just had censored the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, makes sense.
anyways, this is about Bleach. I think it's crazy the amount of blood I've seen in anime, especially this season. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
I'm ready for next week.
Yep, me too. I'm really excited to see what happens next week on Chainsaw Man. But let us know in the comments what you guys think of Chainsaw Man Episode 3. What stood out to you? What did you really like? What didn't you like? If there's something you didn't like. What did you think of that action sequence? What do you think about Meowie? A very cute cat in a cage. Very interesting story between Meowie and Power. And yeah, excited for next week. Let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Until the next episode, we'll see you guys later.